stop. Grind don't 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 stop.
Hello.
Hi.
It is time for me to finally be back and hang out with everybody. I've missed you all. I'm so excited that Stacie is here. I'm having to look at my notes for this because I am in another world right now, but it is June 18th. This is Chewed Gum, and you guys should call us. It's 720-619-2288. We can chat about anything related to deconstruction, purity culture, being an ex-evangelical, or if you want to tell us what God you believe in and why you believe in them, we'd love to hear from you. But right now, I'm just so excited to talk to a friend. And for those of you who don't know, I'm in Europe right now for the summer, living over here doing work stuff, and we did a lot of fun stuff too. But I was telling Stacie and Arden, I've been in 4 countries in like the last 3 or 4 days and different time zones and all this, and it's 1 a.m. here right now. So
Oh my gosh.
this is what we're working with, you guys.
A trooper.
Well, I'm
And
so excited to be back.
Yeah, and that's also why we're doing it an hour early, because it's 1 a.m. for you.
Yes.
So
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. And thank you, everybody, for not that most of you got a say in that, but thank you to those of you that did have a say in it for letting us do that. But how are you, Stacie? I haven't talked to you in so long. I think the last time we really hung out was online.
It was, yeah. You came for my birthday stream, mine and my mom's birthday bash over on our channel. So thank you. It's been a while since we've got to do something. So it's great to do the show with you finally. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I've wanted to do this show with you, specifically purity culture. And so.
Yeah.
Because we have
that's what
so many similarities.
I really think so. Yeah. Anytime I've heard you talk about this stuff, I'm like, oh, we have so many stories we could trade. And I'll remind people of the number one more time. Let me remind myself, but it's 720-619-2288. But until then, while you guys get your calls in, I was just curious, what is your relationship with purity culture? How did you grow up? Like, did you even use that term, purity culture? Was this a thing for you?
Oh, definitely.
How much was that prevalent?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'll try to keep it concise because I've shared it a few times, but I don't know if you've necessarily heard it. But definitely it was a huge part of my growing up in Christianity, like a lot of us had. And just, saving yourself till marriage and, pure thoughts, and don't lust after someone, and how you dressed was you wanted to keep yourself pure for other people's thoughts. And so it was, and I find that it carried on even into marriage.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't end just because you get married. Like the purity culture, it creeps over into your marriage too, and you have to work through that. And it just because now that you're married and you're allowed to have sex, it's not like the stigma of it goes away instantaneously. So that was something I had to work through. Once I was married, I was, I had that guilt still, like knowing I'm okay, this is allowed, but at the same time feeling like, is this allowed? Like your brain is telling you one thing and your feelings are telling you another. And just, I remember times after my husband and I were intimate, I would be thinking, oh my gosh, like I had so much guilt over it, and then having to rationalize, be like, no, it's fine, you're married. So now it's just
Wow.
throwing it all away. And yeah, so thinking
Ugh.
back at just how harmful that was, and thinking how there's people now who are in that position that thought like we once did. And I feel so sad for that, knowing that sex is
Yeah.
such a normal part of human existence, and
Yep.
how much the church just pushes that, control. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting to me too that we were taught that because it was supposed to be what makes your marriage so much better and so much healthier. And as you
yes.
pointed out, that's oftentimes what ends up causing problems in the relationship. I experienced that too when I was married, and it's still something I have to constantly process and unindoctrinate
Yeah.
myself from some of these
Yeah.
things. But yeah, it's something that lingers with you. I think even when you're like healing from it, it doesn't just get out of
Mhm.
your head. That when you're taught since
No.
you're such a little kid to think this way, and that's why when people say like, oh, there's like, why do you have to speak out against religion? Why do you make a big deal about all of this? I know you get the same stuff. It's because of
Mhm.
this. It's because these things that get told to us as kids or even just as teenagers, and then it lives with
Yeah.
you, and then it permeates every part of your life. And then this one part that's supposed to be like one of the few things in life that can just be like this really great, amazing, fun stress reliever and form of expression, all of that, even that
Yeah.
gets taken from you, and it's not worth
Exactly.
it. And that's why I'll continue speaking out against this. So
Yeah.
I forgot to mention
Yeah.
super chats of $5 or more.
Oh,
We'll make
yeah.
sure we get to those. So if there's anything specific that you guys want to ask about, I know when Alyssa and I do the
Mhm.
show together, that's usually one of the places that people like to put all their questions. But especially
Oh,
about this topic, it sounds like you have so much to share about this too. So I'd love to hear
definitely.
more. But we
Yeah.
have a call. Are you ready for it?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, cool. So this is Max. And if I can remember, I was already like barely learning how to run this show.
Yeah.
And
And
now it's
then
like
you go away.
brain is gone, all of the things. Okay, let's see. I think I clicked the button. Hey,
Yeah.
Max, you're on Chewed Gum. This is Eve and Stacie.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I had some trouble calling in before. But basically today, I just wanted to give my 2 cents. While the patriarchy is, really bad for our country and for our, it makes our country weak. And basically it boils down to, this idea of patriarchy, in my mind, it's a very outdated concept, similar to like slavery, for example. It maybe had its use back in the day when giving birth was like a difficult task. It still is, of course. But back when, maybe you can have half your children die before they reach maturity, maybe it was, really difficult. All these things that don't usually happen in advanced first world countries anymore. So maybe at that time it was warranted to have it. But nowadays, with the advancements in medicine, it becomes more, in my mind, it becomes more of a liability because, if women are sitting at home, then, who's going to work, who's going to be in the factories, who's going to be, in the stores selling stuff or producing stuff. And another important thing is who's going to be, in the army. American military is having a big crisis of not having enough people serving. Not enough people want to go and protect their country. And I feel like patriarchy can be like a big problem contributing to this because, we need a lot of people in the military are not just fighting. They're like truck drivers. They're, logistics people. they are intelligence people. They pilot the drones, they cook the food, they drive the trucks, and this conservative mindset. I'm a conservative, but I disagree with it in this regard. That this conservative mindset that women should be in the kitchen is just totally wrecking our economy and our ability to defend ourselves against China, against Russia, against these Iran, these enemies.
Huh. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I still, it's like I'm trying to understand your exact position. What are you describing as
Yeah.
patriarchy? How would you define that?
It's like this idea that the man should be the one who decides things in the household. That women should listen to what the family thinks versus what they desire for themselves. That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a society that puts men at it's a hierarchical. I can never say that word, and I definitely can't say it right now. But it creates a hierarchy where men are at the top, and but my concern is that if the only reason that you are, and I don't know if it's the only reason, but if you're saying like, oh, we need to create better military, so we should have. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying because women can join the military. So that's where I'm just confused. And maybe I'm just not understanding you correctly. So, I don't know, Stacie, do you have any questions?
I actually had a hard time sort of following your train of thought and sort of what point you were trying to get to.
Yeah, maybe if you can give us like a thesis sentence. Yeah, like what's your thesis sentence of your point?
That all these conservatives who claim to care about our country are showing by supporting the patriarchy that they are kind of working against the success of our country.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think maybe for different reasons, and for a lot more reasons. But I absolutely agree. I think that when you want this hierarchy and it's rooted in, like you were saying, in this Stone Age thinking that doesn't apply to this anymore, it's not going to help a country at all.
I'm also curious sort of what you were saying about like the men being at home making the decisions. Like, are you saying that men should be the ones making the decisions and women should just listen and not kind of counter those? Like, I that's what I was sort of wondering. What you
I think he was saying the
opposite. Okay.
I was saying like against that because in many cultures at home it's like expected that the man, they can, whatever decision the man makes, that's his decision. But if a woman makes a decision, that's how it is in my culture at least. If a woman makes a decision, then it's not really her decision to make. It's about the whole family weighing in.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think probably we agree it sounds like it's a good, I don't know that the point of we need a strong military and thus we should be against patriarchy is a good argument, or at least one that I can't agree with that for lots of different reasons that would get us off topic. But I think in general, you could look at most things that a country needs to be, successful or have a high quality of living for its citizens. And I don't see patriarchy being beneficial to that. So, so yeah, we can agree there.
I was just talking from the point of like maybe some conservatives like me watching, and I feel like it's a very salient point for them that to make America great. But you can't make America great without making America strong, and you need to push back on these like outdated concepts of like racism, patriarchy, and all this other obsolete stuff.
Yeah. The problem is like, even if I could get behind some of your premise, which some of it I already just disagree with, about what makes a country great and all of that. I don't think that's necessarily like women are in the military. Also, our military, it has plenty of numbers. So I don't know that that's our best argument against patriarchy, if it even is an argument at all. I don't know, Stacie, if you have more thoughts on that. But
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you, and I feel like there's more agreement on this call than disagreement necessarily. Yeah,
sure.
so I don't know what else I have to add to this. So
yeah,
unless,
cool.
unless
Well,
you
I
have more,
appreciate it,
I'm
Max.
glad we're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in general we've got some agreement. I get what you're I get where you're coming from, and I get the point that you're trying to make, and I really appreciate that you're trying to advocate for some, I would call it feminism, some anti-patriarchy when it comes to talking to conservatives, because that I appreciate that you're acknowledging there is a lot of that among this conservative thinking that is worth addressing. So thanks so much for calling, Max.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I get the point. I was like, is this my time change brain not functioning, or am I not fully understanding what's being said? Okay, cool. I think it was a well-meant call and everything, so I appreciate
definitely.
the call.
Definitely. I
I just wasn't
kind of
fully grasping.
Yeah, it's hard because I know people want to explain a lot, but also it's sort of like kind of make it concise and get to
Right.
the heart of the
Good
matter.
point. Well, you guys, we have lines open, so if you want to call, it's 720-619-2288. We'd love to hear from you. Also, I have announcements. Let's see if I can read them and remember all of these things. Wednesday, tomorrow night, which is technically Wednesday here where I am, and I'm in the future right now, guys. We have the hang up with Matt Dillahunty and Paula Gia, and then on Thursday we have Takis with Josie and Luxander, and then I hope I'm reading this correctly. Yes, I am. And then Sunday, it's the Sunday show with Matt Dillahunty and Arden. Oh, that sounds like a fun. I want to watch that episode.
Yeah.
And then After Dark with Paula Gia and Eric SS. And then on Monday, Skep Talk with Aaron Raw and Professor Dave. And then that brings us back to Tuesday. And I, like 99%, should be here. Just making sure the internet situation is working over the weekend because I'm going somewhere else in a couple of days. Yeah. And Alyssa will be back with me. I miss her. I've missed all of this. I'm just so happy to be back. But yes, again, feel free to call us. And also super chats of $5 or more, we will read at the end of the show. So I do want to say real quick. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I also think I might be mistaken, but I think there is a debate show possibly this Saturday, but I don't know.
All right. Maybe.
Possibly. I don't know. I heard that.
Stay tuned,
I
guys.
could be mistaken. Yeah. And also don't forget to join the Patreon. Yeah. Call the line.
Yes.
Patreon.com/call-the-line.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think they're still getting new episodes for the podcast that I need to go listen to. I'm like missing everybody now because I feel like when I was back in the States, I was like, obviously, first of all, in the same time zone, but I just feel like I've been in a different world. So I'm like, all these people and these conversations. It's been really nice to take a break from it. Like my brain has not been in this land this whole time, but I'm really happy to be back, and I've been missing it so much. Before we take our next caller, I noticed something in the comments happening that I also want to talk to you about and see what you think about it. But I saw it earlier. I don't know exactly what was said, but somebody must have said something. And then, of course, one of our moderators said, like, please don't objectify the host. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
noticed that too. I didn't see the comment, but I saw the,
Same. And then somebody, which thank you, by the way, to our moderators. Love you guys. And someone said if something about like, if I can't give a compliment, like, or they're mad, I can't give a compliment, I'm out, I'm leaving or whatever. And I just want to talk about that for a second. My initial thought, just because I think it's so interesting and it goes with the theme of the show, but my initial thought is I appreciate, like, I understand that sometimes it might be frustrating when you're like in the light and you think you're just saying something nice. But especially on this show, when we have all women, we get a lot of comments that just want to talk about the way that we look. And Stacie and I showed up here to do our job and to actually talk and to be present and bring ourselves. And it is annoying for me anyways when it's like just people commenting on the way that we look. There's a time and a place for that. And I think like a compliment, especially a specific one, like, I don't know. I'm not sure how the moderators do what they do, and I appreciate that they are probably a little bit more intense about it. But that's why we have that on there, because this show is not about like, this is not my Instagram where I just posted a picture from my trip and I'm wearing like a new outfit that I'm excited about, and then you can comment a compliment if you want. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I know like this isn't about, how we look. And I know a lot of shows will have the same standards. Like, you can talk about the topics, but kind of leave the looks out of it. And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's not like they're just for just women. It goes, for guys too. So I think it is just kind of take like the physical out of it and just focus on the show, focus on the topic, keep it on what we're discussing. And again, I don't mind having a compliment. It's nice, but it kind of takes away from like what we're actually talking about. And it just makes, to me, it feels like I have more to say than just, how I look. So,
Yeah, and I think there are ways to compliment people. Like if somebody's really, and this is like a general life thing, if you're really wanting to make someone feel good, I don't think you're ever going to go wrong with some. I mean, I think a lot of times it is appropriate to comment about looks, and people appreciate that. But I don't think you'll ever go wrong complimenting something about somebody's personality or something really unique to them that exists in here, So it's difficult when you're hosting a show like this or something, and then somebody's talking about the way that you look. Cause like the last thing I want to do is think about how I look while I'm doing this. And then it's like, oh, you're thinking about how I look right now. Great. Thanks for letting me know.
No,
anyways,
definitely.
I just think that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I do too. And I did see the
you saw it too.
The after of I didn't see the initial, but I was like, I wonder what was happening. But thank you to the moderators. Yeah. They're on it. And like I said, it goes both ways. It's not just for the women. So
and I'm not saying that to shame anybody. I think a lot of times people do that and mean something innocent by it. And I understand that you're frustrated, but like maybe pause and consider why that's a rule or why that would be frustrating. And then you can just be like, oh, my bad. Cool. Let's move forward now. Like, it's not it doesn't have to be a big deal. So anyways, we have
just like
another,
no all caps. There's rules for chat. So
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I like them, and it helps us a lot. It's just so funny because I'm so bad at paying attention to comments, and that happened to be the one that I saw while I was looking over here. So anyways, we have a caller. Are you down to take this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is May. And let's see. Hey, May.
Hi.
How are you?
I hope that Europe and Finland are fun. I've been wanting updates for like ever. I know you've been just so busy, like living your best life. So I'm happy that you're liking it.
Thank you.
And this question, I actually wanted to talk to Alyssa about it, so I may call back next week as well. But I want to get
I saw the topic.
So I find myself in kind of a new understanding of my sexuality, my body, and the way that I feel attraction towards other people, towards women. That's different since starting hormone replacement therapy. And I thought I was basically functionally asexual until very recently, when it all just sort of kicked back online and it was way different. It's much more of a mental kind of intense experience with myself and like getting to know who I am, what I like, and all this. So my call, which is relevant to this, is about kind of female sexuality. Like, how do you get to know yourself? How do you get in touch with yourself? And as women who are kind of confident in her body, and getting confident in my body. Like, how is, give me some tips. Like, what's the best way that I can get to know myself, and what has worked for you too in the past?
Yeah. So I'm going to be like super careful how I answer this. I do think you should absolutely call back when Alyssa's on, because she's going to have actual expert advice and she can point you to resources.
Yeah, I was planning on calling back next week as well.
Yeah, totally. Good. I love that you called though. I think this is a great call. You know, I think for me, the main thing that's going to be different is that I had religious trauma. So I, like with purity culture, what Stacie and I were talking about. So therapy was a really important thing. I think that can be helpful for anybody. Because, and I didn't even have therapy specifically relating to my sexuality, but just getting the confidence to have, to be able to process my emotions and to be able to have the skills to have healthy relationships, obviously spills over into all areas of life. So that's big. I also think prioritizing time to really just, and I don't mean this in a sexual way, but I think it carries over there, to just get to know yourself. Like, it's always been really important to myself to take time to just sit and enjoy listening to my favorite music and writing and watching a movie that I really like by myself, or going to a coffee shop and sitting there and interacting with people on my own. Like, being independent for me has also been important, because that's given me confidence to feel very comfortable with myself when I'm alone, which is another big part about getting comfortable with your sexuality, is being really comfortable on your own. And not feeling afraid of yourself or your own body or your sexuality. So I think that's some big components for me. I'm sure there's other stuff, but that's what comes to mind. So Stacie, what about you?
Well, were you raised religious, May? That's my first question.
I was raised sort of agnostic, like crystal new agey, like back when I was a teenager. Like, that was something I believed in. So I was probably like the evangelical Christians, like worst enemy, which is better, but I guess, but yeah, not really religious. But I had a lot of disconnection from myself and my body, relating to, I'm not actually a man, and I never was. And that sort of disconnection with myself, going through life on that very autopilot state. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to what I have to say here, but a lot of that wasn't me. And you kind of have to start almost from scratch when it comes to digging through all of that parts of your life that don't fit you anymore and rebuilding yourself. So I feel like, religious trauma or not, either type of advice would be good, maybe. Whatever you want to share.
Well, I mean, it's okay. I prepared myself for being kind of open and personal on this show, just given the nature of some of the topics and calls. But, for me, like, religious trauma definitely played into just getting to know myself. And as far as sexuality goes, so just getting comfortable. Like, I know Eve said just going to a coffee shop and getting comfortable by yourself. For me, I thought you were going to take it a whole other direction, Eve, and I was kind of hoping you would go that way, because I was like, oh, I hope one of us, hope you say it to kind of prepare for me, if you know where I'm going.
Sorry.
No, because I'm getting really sweaty. But but that's also the nature of this show. So, like, for me, dealing with purity culture and stuff, just getting comfortable, just getting to know yourself, like, that's something that I didn't do for the longest time. And in that regard, is what I'm trying to say is self-pleasure. And if you're wanting to do that, just it's kind of a barrier that you have to just get over. I don't know if that's something that you are struggling with or not, but I had to, like what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was referring to kind of in the beginning of the show when we were talking about when I first got married and just telling myself, okay, now having sex is okay because I'm married. Well, I had to get over a barrier of now having like self-pleasure is okay now that I'm no longer a Christian. That took some time. And even once I deconverted, I still was like, had that hang up of, is this okay? Am I allowed? Is this okay? And it took some time. And I did a panel a year and a half ago now on purity culture. There was about 8 of us. And at that time, even though I was an atheist, I was still the only person at that time who had never done self-pleasure. I had never watched porn. And I was like, why am I here? I still have a lot of exploring to do. And so when I was done that panel, I was like, you know what? I'm allowed to do these things. Not that I need to go like full throttle and, go crazy with it, but I'm allowed to just explore these things because I am in charge of myself, and no God, no church, no dogma, no doctrine is going to tell me what I can or can't do. And so having that freedom of just being like, this is my body, I can just explore these things that I've never done in the 38, 39, 40 years of being on this earth. So now that and honestly, Eve, you have helped me do that with just watching this show because
that means so much to hear.
so I know that's probably really weird to say as your co-host, but
no, I love it.
I was
Well, I have to agree on that. I really agree that like I see how Eve, because I follow her on Instagram, and just like seeing her be in her truth and the way she stands up really helped me as well. Like get in touch with myself, not necessarily in the way, in the context of this call, but I mean in the context of just in general. So
that
thank
means
you, Eve,
so much. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I think it's just getting over that, just getting past that barrier and being like, I'm in charge, I'm allowed. And if that's something that takes some time, it's just know that you can do it. And I'm an example of it. So,
I think that's really great.
Is it something that, I'm going to keep it short because I'm pretty sure there are other callers, and I'm going to call back next week anyway, but is there was it something that for you is constantly evolving now? Like it's changing in terms of the way that you're accepting it, or was the initial hurdle something that was rough?
I think it was the initial hurdle, and just kind of letting that guilt go because it's kind of like pent up, and it's almost like rewiring your former self, your former thoughts, your former way of thinking, and being like, no, like it's okay, I can do this, and I'm in charge, I'm allowed. No one is telling me that I can't, and I'm not hurting anyone by doing this. I have consent over myself. So, and I'm not going to hell. I'm not, for me, that was a huge, I'm not sinning. And that's why I asked if you had a religious background, but because for me, that was the hurdle. So, and it is evolving. So.
I think sexuality is something that's always evolving for at least I hope that it is. I think that the healthier you are sexually, the more you're in touch with yourself, and people change all the time. We stay the same in so many ways too. There's core things about ourselves, and I think that there can be some core things about our sexualities, but then I think there's always a lot changing, and that's part of the fun of sexuality, is like the novelty of getting to know yourself and new things about yourself or about a new partner or whatever it is. I think it's so great that you're even wanting to, you talked about in the beginning that you thought maybe you were asexual or something, but you're clearly the type of person that's willing to get to know yourself enough to figure out that that wasn't even true. And you're listening to yourself and you're listening to your body. And I think just keep doing that. Alyssa's going to this is where I'm like, damn it, where's Alyssa? Because she's going to literally tell you there's this resource, there's this person, there's this book.
Next week, so.
But here's some great anecdotes, at least, I hope, in the meantime.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we can offer as anecdotes. She has the data, I'm sure. But
yeah, she does.
Okay.
But as far as
nice to talk to you. I'm trying to get a lot of other women's perspective on this. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thanks for trusting us with your question. I appreciate you calling, May.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye. You too. I will, because it's already Wednesday for me. It's the start of my day. No, I think that was so great. I appreciate you being willing to share that. Isn't it weird? I mean, I honestly feel the same. Being on this show all the time, the part of my brain that has been so deeply indoctrinated is always like, oh, we can't talk about that. We can't say that. Alyssa has have you seen Alyssa's vulva pillow?
Yes.
I love it so much. And then there's part of my brain that's like, oh, what are we doing? So it's fun though. Yeah. I love being shocked all the time about who I am now.
Right? Okay, that's how I feel. Like here I am on the internet saying these words. But it's, you know what? It's to help. It's to help. And it's to let other people know you're not alone. Yeah. If you're going through this, we've gone through it too. And that's why I like doing this.
Yeah. And it's such a big deal. Obviously, it can impact somebody's life so horrifically. But then it's like, also, it's not a big deal. We can talk about these things. This is, like you were saying, this is a normal, healthy part of somebody's life, and or can be and should be. So I don't know. I love it. I love being seeing the rewirings of my brain all the time. It's really cool. And it's cool because I feel like we've also had a lot of callers that didn't grow up religious, and yet this has still been an issue because I do think it's so intertwined throughout Western culture. Now we have this weirdness. Yeah, it's so awful. And just also lack of information, really just misinformation is everywhere about sex all the time. And so that's why it's so cool. I learn from Alyssa all the time too, just debunking things. Yeah. It's amazing. Anyways, sorry, I'm just
yapping. It's fine.
We have another caller. Are you down? And a reminder that we've got time, but super chats of $5 or more we will read at the end. So this is Amanda. Let's see if I can get it to work. Yes, Amanda. Hey, it's Eve and Stacie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm here. What's your question for us tonight?
Kind of piggybacking off of what May was talking about. I recently had an experience where a lot of internalized homophobia came up, and I am trying to find my way through that. I grew up evangelical, very religious. Being LGBT is not at all accepted by my family. And I realized I was queer about 2 years ago. And this summer was the first time that I was able to participate in any kind of pride events. Last week I was in a show that was specifically a pride show, and I was up on stage trying to have a good time and put on a good performance, but the whole time I just had this existential dread, and it's the same kind of emotions I used to feel when I thought that I had done something wrong and would, be eternally punished for it. And I know logically that isn't the case, but I felt those emotions the entire night, and ever since I feel like I've had those emotions kind of in the back of my head ever since that show. And I'm trying to find a way to work past.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry, because I imagine that must have been something you were looking forward to, and then it turned into to this moment where you're having to face these emotions and basically indoctrination that I'm sure you were not expecting to have to face. I can relate a little bit to parts of that, and yeah, I'm just so sorry, and that it makes me so mad on your behalf that you even had to go through that. That should have just been a moment that you could have enjoyed. But this is what religion and high control does to people. So, I don't know if you've done. Sorry, I say this all the time on calls. I don't know if you've been able to get therapy for some of the religious trauma. I think that's where I would absolutely start off. That's what's helped me the most, because things come up in my body all the time, or I'll have those moments where I'm like, I am going to hell, or I am, something like that. This is so sinful and this is so awful. And therapy really helped me start to recognize the physical sensations that typically come actually before I can even consciously understand what I'm afraid of or what's going on. And I've been able to do a lot of work to have that not come up. As far as, how to recover from that moment itself, another thing that's always helped me is just being kind to myself and acknowledging, what? It's normal that I felt that way. It is so normal, considering how I grew up, considering the things I was told, considering what I still hear around me all the time, considering how my family is. It is so normal that I unfortunately experienced that. And now I'm going to go do some work or figure out what I can do so that I get to enjoy it next time instead. But I'm not going to be upset with myself. That's another thing that I've had to work on, is the not beating myself up later for having felt that negative emotion. So, Stacie.
I feel like I would say pretty much everything that you just said, almost word for word, because when I still get moments like that where I'll have that guilt over something so small, and it's like, that's like the old me. And I have to remind myself, no, it's okay. You haven't done anything wrong. Everything's fine. And I have to just remind myself that it's that feeling of condemnation that the church likes to say, right? Or conviction, either or. To me, they were exactly the same. I could never tell them apart when I was in the church, because they felt the same. But it's just rewiring those thoughts and just making new pathways. So just like you said, being kind to yourself. I talk to my mom about absolutely everything. I always have. She's kind of my person that I go to. And that's what she always says to me. Just be kind to yourself. And I think that's something that we just need to remember to do, because when you're in the church, you're constantly reminded that you're a sinner and that you're not worthy. And that that's why Jesus came, because we're like dirty rags. And so just remembering that none of that's true, and we're actually, good people, and dancing up at a pride event that you're actually proud to be there and proud to be a part of, rather than feeling bad or guilty because of that internalized old homophobia. That should be something that you can enjoy. So I think, like Eve said, next time, just go and know that that's something that you should be proud to be a part of. And now you're living your truth. And I just think be kind to yourself, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the hardest part of all this, because I have a lot of friends now in the LGBT community, and I feel like I can fully accept them for who they are, but I can't fully accept myself yet.
Yeah,
I
think
it's definitely
so
a
much
journey.
easier. Yeah, it's always easy to give people the more grace than you can give to yourself in a lot of different situations. And you can just extend that to other people before you extend it to yourself. I think that's so common. It doesn't matter what it is. So I think, like Eve was saying, definitely maybe get into therapy so that you can learn some tools to just adapt when those feelings start to come, and even just some proper self-talk when those negative thoughts come in would be really helpful, I think.
Yeah, and I think for me, a big part of starting to accept myself and not feel ashamed about anything regarding my sexuality and all of that was coming to terms with the fact that my family is not going to be proud of me. You know, it sounds like very similar to how you've grown up and what you deal with. And therapy was what helped me process all of that. So that's why I was kind of saying, I think that's such a good place to start, because a big part of me being able to own who I am and all of this is that I am fully, you know, interdependent on myself, not on other people and their perspectives. And that carries over to things like what you just experienced. So, and for what it's worth, I know I'm just a stranger on the internet. I am so proud of you for even going to that. Because imagine, it sounds like a few years ago, you wouldn't have even imagined that you would do that. And so I think another good way is to look back on that day and think about all the things you did that were so brave, and think about the intent that you had and what you were trying to provide for yourself, which sounds like a celebration of yourself and your friends and your freedom to be yourself, which you still have, even though you have these thoughts and these fears and these things. That freedom is still there. You are still yourself. That's not going anywhere, and you'll get through this part. So.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy this show, and you guys have helped me through a lot of religious baggage.
Oh, well, I appreciate you so much for calling in and sharing that with us. And please feel free to call back again if you make any progress or learn any new things. We'd love to hear how your journey goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Amanda. Bye.
I love all these calls, but it also just makes me so mad about purity culture and about
I know.
all of this. It's just it's not a small thing. It just keeps carrying over and carrying over. And that's why, which, by the way, happy Pride Month, everybody. I love that we have Pride Month because of things like this, because it isn't, people don't just get to go out and be okay with who they are when you're raised the way that we were raised, you know. And so to have time to get to sit back and celebrate, and it makes me so, I'm over here in Europe and they have all the pride flags everywhere. I'm assuming it's like that back in the States right now. I hope it is. Although I think I'm seeing it a lot more here because they're having it on like government buildings and everything. And not to even politicize it at all, just as a human being, it's so cool to see something that to this day, a lot of my friends and family would say is, you know, evil. You can't be gay. You can't be trans. You can't be queer. To see that being celebrated by the rest of the world for a little bit of time, to like take a pause and say, because it's such a beautiful, like the flag and everything is just so nice and color. It's just a fun, it's like just this lightness about it that I'm so happy to see. And I'm not talking about this in a political way. I love seeing humans celebrate other humans being their full selves. And it makes me feel more accepted in this world too. So
definitely. It's nice to be a part of it now that I'm out of the church and being like, you know, and celebrate just people and celebrate everything about it. So
yeah. Have you ever been to a Pride event?
Yes, I have actually.
Nice.
We live in a small town, and it was, I think this will be the third year that they started doing their own Pride Week in August. And it's quite a conservative-ish place that we live. So the fact that they started one is
do it
amazing.
At all? Yeah.
Yeah, and we have two rainbow sidewalks in our city. Aww. And we kind of stumbled across a Pride event on my son's birthday last year. Actually, we went, and it was really fun. We had a great time, and the kids got like stickers and bookmarks and pins, and people were coming up to us saying, "It's so amazing seeing like you bringing your kids out and seeing a family here."
Oh,
And so, yeah, so it was really
I love
special.
that so much. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember going to my first Pride. It was Atlanta Pride a few years ago. Very shortly after I had left religion and everything. And I was just like crying and laughing and
Yeah.
smiling. Like the whole thing just felt very emotional and like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so amazing and so beautiful. And if you
Yeah.
haven't been to a Pride event before, I highly recommend
Yeah.
it. I just think it's so great.
It hits like, even though I am not part of the LGBTQ community, but I feel like it kind of hits a little different when you are out of evangelicalism and you now get to go
Yeah.
and be a part of it as an ally.
Of celebrating.
I think it's just special, to be
Mhm.
there and just be like, oh, I'm here and I can enjoy this and not
Aw,
have that guilt, so, and not
sure.
feel,
Yeah.
it's freeing in that regard too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I love it. We have another call. Are you down?
Yay. Yes.
Let's see. I think I'm supposed to be double clicking. I'm sorry, guys. That's why it takes me so long. Hi, Dylan. How are you?
Oh, hello. I'm okay.
Hi.
What's up? How can we help you tonight?
Also, first off, I do have a little cough because I'm getting over being sick, so I will try to cough away
I'm
from the
so
mic if I
sorry.
can. No, you're
All
fine.
good. I've been getting over a cough for this whole month, so it's finally gone, I think.
But sort of the topic was about, because I was personally attacked by my TikTok feed earlier, as I was also earlier than that writing a story about sort of like a journaling and self-fulfillment about like, oh, what if I could shapeshift and things like that, and sort of realizing that even though right now I identify on the asexual spectrum, it's still demisexual, which is not really having that initial sexual attraction until I get to know the person and I have a trust formed with them. But realizing sort of if I could shapeshift or if I could have be able to transition, I probably wouldn't identify with asexuality as much, if that makes sense. And on TikTok, I saw a feed about how that's actually a semi-common feeling for a lot of trans people, that after that transition, they don't identify with asexuality as much because of that dysphoria and that disconnect with the perceived gender that they are and what they actually more identify with. Because if you are a trans man and you have other men attracted to you, but they think you're a woman, that disconnect and dysphoria sort of heightens that feeling of, I'm probably just asexual, because that idea disgusts me, if that makes sense. And the previous caller kind of made me think about that, of how to explore your sexuality more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think just like the other call, I feel a little in over my head as far as I'm not Alyssa. And I really wish that I was. As Stacie and I have talked about, this is all like new stuff for us. And there's so many spectrums and so many other things, and that I don't have the education on, and I don't want to tell you anything harmful or not helpful to you,
Right.
other than I'm like I said to May, I'm proud of you for taking the time to figure out what's going on and what you want, and listening to yourself in that way. And I think just continue doing that. That's amazing. Calling in is so great. I hope you'll call when Alyssa is back on. I feel bad that we're just saying this. Alyssa's going to come back next week and be like, what the hell, you guys? But of course, I was thinking like, oh, it's going to be me and Stacie on. All the theists are finally going to call, and my brain's going to be absolutely pride, like, because I'm so tired and I'm like, oh, somebody's going to like prove God tonight because I am sleep deprived. But
Yeah.
that didn't happen. Instead, it's like, I'm sorry. I wish I was a sexpert. But I don't know. Stacie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I will echo what you've said as far as I'm proud of you for, calling in and kind of recognizing this. I don't know how much I have to offer in this realm. I'm so sorry about that. I'm not going to pretend that I do just to fill space with some words, but I think you're wonderful, and I think you should call back when when Alyssa is on, because I don't really know what to say in that regard. And if the previous call was helpful, then I just say all of that to you. But
yeah, I think it's really great that you are even taking any of this into consideration, because it would be so easy to just shut down and shut whatever's happening out. I also love that you said your TikTok For You page personally attacked you.
Yeah,
but it is really fun, like when the algorithm like figures you out and it starts sending you stuff. So you may even find helpful things there. But I do think I'm hopeful that either you or May will call back next week, and Alyssa will have some actual concrete resources to offer, because I think this is an important thing, and you should call back. But thank you so much, Dylan, thank you so much for calling, and we're both proud of you.
Yeah,
I'm speaking for Stacie, but I assume.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're both on, because my face blindness for some reason gets you two confused, and I'm like, I know you're different, but for some reason my autism is just like, they're like, that's the same person. Nope, that's not. Nope, that's the other person.
I will take it as a compliment. We've been told we look alike. In fact, when I met Stacie's mom in real life, which is very rare in these circumstances that any of us actually get to meet each other. But Stacie's mom told me, she's like, oh my gosh, you look like my daughter. You have to meet her. So it's not just you. And I take it as the biggest compliment ever. So
okay. Thank you.
Thanks again, Dylan. Bye.
You're welcome.
Bye. On that note, it's really funny because my boss, I found out she's like this secret atheist who follows like all of you guys, all people who I'm friends with.
Right.
No, but it's so funny because I didn't know this. And so she'll send me all these TikToks. And one time she sent me one of yours, and she's like, you look like her. You guys look so like you could be sisters. And I was like, she's my friend. And she's like, oh my God. So
it's so sweet. I love when that happens. People, I mean, obviously, like I get so many messages, but some of my friends will still sometimes send me, they don't like really pay attention to my work. They just know I do something like this. And then they'll send me and be like, you would think this is cool. And I'm like, that's my friend. That's also my friend. That's my friend. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, when we found that out. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Small world. Yeah. Well, when this week, I think it was this weekend, who knows? This could have been 3 weeks ago. This could have been 2 days ago for all my mind can process right now. But we were in, and I'm going to butcher the way that you say the name of this city. And I'm already embarrassed because if my boyfriend's listening right now, then he's going to laugh at how I say this. But we were in the city of Bratislava. I already know I said it wrong. And somebody came up to me, it's like a very random city. And somebody came up and they were like, are you Eve Was Framed? And I was like, what? So it's a small world.
That is amazing.
But it was cool.
That's really cool.
We have a call. It looks like we have time for like one last call probably, so that we still have time for Super Chats. Are you down? This seems like it's going to be an interesting call. Okay.
Oh boy. Embracing myself. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Hey, Jackie. This is Eve and Stacie. What's up?
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
I'm tired, but I'm excited to be here.
So basically, I don't know if you are at the topic or question box, but I would be liking to articulate the argument that we, and I, we as in the three of us, because presumably we all live in America, correct?
Nope,
No.
not correct.
Oh, who lives somewhere else?
I live in Canada.
Currently in, yeah, and I'm currently living in Europe.
Okay, so yeah, Europe, America, and Canada, this all would apply to. So basically, I believe that the Western cultures, including Europe and America and Canada, but this also applies to Western democracies around the world. So I guess you could say Israel, Taiwan, maybe Argentina, Canada, a lot of other places. No, effectively, we're structurally liberal society, and we grant equal rights, and we judge people as individuals. And aspects of our legal system can be discriminatory, but there is most certainly no systemic oppression of women that can be reasonably demonstrated to justify calling us structurally patriarchal. Yeah, after the 1970s, effectively, the laws on the books have...
Jackie, I don't know if you're reading something, but let's slow down, because we're actually going to have a conversation with you. So let's slow down. Let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, just to reiterate my point, I believe the law is effectively equal. But if you disagree with that, I would like to have a conversation with you.
Cool. So is it the law that you think is equal, or society, or because there's a lot of nuance and a lot of layers to this, and I'm going to agree or disagree based on very specific things.
Well, the structure of society is simply the law, and effectively and fundamentally the law is equal. So there's no country in what we could call the West today, unless you're including some like I don't even know examples where you could call it structurally patriarchal. No, do you have evidence that we live in a patriarchal society in any of the places I'm in America?
So, Jackie, first of all, I'm so sorry. I'm brain dead because I've been all over everywhere, and it's 1 a.m. or it's 2 a.m. where I am. So I'm just going to need you to talk a little slower so that I can keep up with what you're saying and hear what you're saying. But just real quick, based off of the last thing you said, I don't think that I would say that we live in a structurally patriarchal society if that's how you're defining it. I do think there are a lot of aspects of society, not of government necessarily. It really depends also on what country you're talking about specifically. I'm not willing to lump all of these because there's a spectrum and there's so much nuance. So I'm not willing to apply, I agree, I'm not willing to apply the label of structural patriarchy to all Western countries, but nor am I willing to say that there isn't any signs of patriarchal oppression happening on different levels in different countries in all kinds of different ways. We would have to talk about each specific issue. There's different things that's happening. I mean, for example, I grew up in the United States of America in an extremely patriarchal environment. The whole culture I grew up in was based off of patriarchy. So you can't tell me that doesn't exist, but I agree with you. I don't think that I grew up under a structural patriarchy, if that's how you're defining it. I think it's more nuanced, and I think there are some laws that are still not bent in women's favor, or are bent against women, is what I'm trying to say. But anyways, let's keep it chill, and let's talk a little slower so that we can understand you.
Well, the problem I have with the premise of your show is that the title of it is Woman versus the Patriarchy, but we don't live in a structure called the patriarchy, so it's a ridiculous.
Cool. So Jackie, this title of the show, there you go, you said it. The title of the show is not Women Against Structural Patriarchy in Their Specific Country. We are against patriarchy. Are you against patriarchy? It sounds like you are, if you're saying it's not happening anyways.
Yeah, I'm against all I'm against all authoritarian societies, whether that's communism, whether that's Marxism, whether that's fascism, whether that's...
Yeah, I don't need your definition of authoritarianism, but so women against patriarchy. What is the problem with that? We are against patriarchy. Because
we don't live in a patriarchy. It's like saying it's like a Nazi going on saying, I'm against Jewish
Jackie.
supremacy.
Hey,
Well,
Jackie.
no,
Pause.
well, honey,
Pause.
honey,
No.
listen to me real
Don't.
quick.
Hey.
Wow.
No.
Done. Muted.
Done.
Wow. So
He called the other day and was
I was
super
waiting for that to happen.
condescending to Shannon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know that I even need to give him more of a chance.
No.
Do you want to continue the call? I'm okay to do it, but
if you want to give like one more chance, but like he was incredibly
I'll
condescending
give
to
him one
Shannon
chance.
as well. So
yeah, I'll give him one chance, and then
when someone starts to call, it's kind of like the compliment thing. You start calling us honey, dear, sweetie. It's like,
well, he
done.
just said, "Listen to me," and this is
Yeah.
our show. So
Yeah,
that's already
exactly.
just disrespectful behavior, which to me shows that you're floundering in your argument, because I'm genuinely trying to have conversation and I'm agreeing with you more than I'm not. So I'm going to unmute you in just a second, but let me clarify something. The name of the show, first of all, is Chewed Gum. The name of this episode, I guess I can't even see it right now, Women Against the Patriarchy or Versus the Patriarchy, because we are against patriarchy. We don't want patriarchy. We haven't made a claim yet. You can ask us. I think Stacie and I might even have different opinions on what we think is patriarchy or where we see it. But the point of that name is to get people to call in. So that's great. But then you need to ask us a question if you want to know our actual assertion or our position. Assertion number 1, I am against patriarchy. Now, if you want to find out and ask me where I think patriarchy exists or why I'm against it, you can do that. But also, I could say, I don't think patriarchy exists anymore, which that's not true. But I could say that and then say, and I'm against it still. So all of this is, I'm going to unmute for a second. If it doesn't stay extremely respectful, I'm dropping the call.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jackie, here's your one and only second chance.
Yeah.
So perhaps the confusion I have is not woman versus patriarchy, it's woman versus the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a specific noun, and there is no system called the patriarchy that I have yet to hear anybody who advocates against it could articulate. So within the culture that you live in, do you believe there is a structure you would call the patriarchy in any system of the legal system or of the government or even of culture?
I feel like you're just getting hung up on the name of the show, and that's what so many people are getting hung up on.
So I'll answer your question. So I think the patriarchy, I don't need to put the in front of it personally. I can just say I do think patriarchy exists in all kinds of areas of society. I already gave you my example number 1, which is that I grew up in an evangelical culture where everything was literally based on patriarchy, and still is. And they have books about it, and you can go watch documentaries about it if you want to know more. But it very, very, very much exists. And a lot of these people are advocating for it to continue existing in government as well. So this is not some made up conspiracy. There are people who want a hierarchy that puts men at the top and then women and children. So if you want to, I don't know if you want more specifics, but
also, so it's nuanced because there are certain elements of culture which do discriminate against women, but you also have to remember that, for example, like evangelicals, there's an idea of free association. Like, you don't have to be part of an evangelical community if you don't consent to it. You can move to a different area or move to a more secular area.
I didn't consent to it.
Yeah.
I was in it for like 26 years. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you could have left if under your own volition. They wouldn't have killed you. There would have been no honor killings. It's not like you were forced to be in that situation. And I do believe the way the evangelical community treats modesty, especially the fundamentalist strand, is really messed up. And or at least beyond what I would recommend. But the problem is, what do you believe is the solution? Do you want heavy-handed government policy, or like dialogue, or like how do you plan on changing cultural elements within society that you believe are discriminatory against women? Because the problem I have with some some elements of the feminist community that I interact with is they advocate authoritarianism, and as I said previously, I'm against all forms of overhanded use of force, whether that's against or for any group of people.
Yeah. So I basically just want to have equal human rights. That's what I'm advocating for,
I
which
would
the
agree.
patriarchy would go against. So I want access to birth control, to any other healthcare needs that I would have, just like any other person. I want to be able to file for divorce the same as any man would be able to. I want to
The right to vote.
want to have
Just
right to vote is a really important one. I really just
Yeah.
want to maintain equal rights, and that's why I'm
But then
against
all those things are
patriarchy.
illegal. And all of those things you just listed are currently illegal
Yes,
in
but
all of the
those
countries
can
that we are.
still things can
Right.
still get
But
overturned. That's the thing. We
the
want to
problem
keep
is
it that
there are
way.
people advocating against them. And the
Yeah.
other issue why we speak out against this, it's not just about law. I understand that you're wanting to talk politics. That's not why that is the title, at least not for me.
No.
I do think it gets into politics, but there are young women that are being told, just like I was, that they don't have the right to speak up and that they don't have equal value as their husband, that they don't have the right to birth control, that they have to just have however many babies they have, all kinds of things like that. And that patriarchy very, 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 very much exists. We can talk about the nuances within politics where it is also existing, or we can talk about the nuances within society and how people just treat each other, like in the workplace and all of that. There's all kinds of things. But the main reason that I'm here and what I'm talking about when it comes to being anti-patriarchy is the way that I personally was raised under it and how people are advocating for that to continue. And then those people are being raised to go be in the government and advocate to make those things law for all of us. And I don't want that. And Jackie, you don't want that either.
Yeah. Do you have any specific individual, or are you just saying, because you're using a lot of I don't want to say buzzwords, but you're using generalized language about like evangelicals. Like, do you have a prominent pastor, a politician? Because the thing is, we can talk all day about how bad a non-existent problem is, but until you can point to it, it would be just like an anti-Semitic person saying it would be wrong if the Jews were killing babies and drinking
I can make this.
Right?
There's a
Obviously,
couple
we're
of
against killing babies, but there is nobody drinking Ingenicum. That's a conspiracy theory. So why talk about it?
Yeah, I can give you direct names if you want. They're not going to mean a whole lot to you right now. I can tell you all the Christian nationalists: Lance Wallnau, Rick Joyner. Trying to not say my dad's name because I'm trying to not give my own identity out there. My dad's in the news talking about it all the time. Who else? My brain is fried right now. I would be happy to share all of this information with you, and I can send it to you and post it here in the comments. I'll try to come back to this episode and do that. I'll also tell you there's a documentary called Shiny Happy People, and they go into a good bit of the political agenda, and they name names and they show everything that's happening there. There's another one, God and Country. There's another one called God and Country that goes into all of that. And I'm happy to drop names for you. If you go to, I'm trying to think, what is the name of this website? There's a name of a website that is constantly every day updating with the people that are doing this and counting the amount of money that they're, no, that's a good one too. You'll find my dad over there.
Yeah, I know Right Wing Watch. I actually look at some of the stuff, but I don't really pay attention too much to it. Now,
it's a good place to start.
They want to arrest. Are you saying they want to arrest women who take birth control?
Yes.
Or like take away? Okay.
Yes, and many of them actually want to be able to put women to death if they get an abortion.
I mean, I believe abortion should be illegal in every case except the life of the mother, even rape. But I don't personally believe there should be the death penalty for it, at least not in our current culture.
I'm glad we can agree on that. Yeah, I do think that, Jackie, it would be good for you to go learn more about Christian nationalism and these people that are very much advocating to remove human rights from other humans.
But
it's
the problem maybe I'm strawmanning, so just I would like clarification. When I
yeah, I
discuss
appreciate that you're
people who
go
advocate
ahead.
against patriarchy, there's a significant portion where it's simplistic. There's simply cultured bias against women. In some scenarios, you can find individuals and crackpots like that, but that's a very oversimplistic situation because you also have elements of the legal system that discriminate against men. I would say, to an extent, child custody laws, as well as examples of men who are raped either by other men or by women being less likely to report it. Men who are drafted into the army, but women are not drafted into the army. So I would agree with you that there are illiberal, but not illiberal, just authoritarian forces I would describe as wrong that discriminate against women. But the problem is everyone who I've talked to who talks about patriarchy or the patriarchy basically is a leftist and doesn't know what they're talking about, but is not even moderate and acts as though it's this binary oppressor oppressed, and it's really not so simple.
What's not so simple? I'm trying to track with you, but I'm what's not so simple, because patriarchy is literally so simple. We can go look up the definition right now.
Yeah. It's not so simple that we live in a culture which predominantly discriminates against women. I just gave you like 3 examples: the draft, rape laws, not being as concerned statistically with male victims of rape.
So you're gonna get different, right? So first of all, there's an episode like a month or 2 back where Alyssa and I covered. I think it was Alyssa and I don't remember, but I will also put that in the comments. I'll come back and leave these comments, but leave this in the comments. But we've covered a lot of that. Like Alyssa and I agree. That's why we're feminists, because we want equality. So we want equality in those situations. I can't remember exactly each one that you mentioned, but besides all of that, because that's going to get us really off topic. You're saying people that talk about patriarchy don't understand the nuance, blah, blah, blah. The reason we have this show is to talk about the nuance of it all, because I am probably maybe less than most people on this show too. I am going to be a little bit more like, let's talk about the nuance. I'm not going to put a blanket label and say, oh, we are living in a predominantly oppressive against women society. I don't know that that's true. Most of the time, maybe a lot of the time, maybe I don't like labeling things like that. I like to look at specific issues. There are things that specifically women are having to face when it comes to human rights that men are not facing in the United States right now. That is a problem.
Well, so generally speaking, women are more vulnerable physically, but the double-edged sword there's less expectation for women to do things which might be harder on their mental health or physically exhaustive as men generally, especially young men who there might be a greater emphasis societal obligation, but might feel disappointed that effectively they're left out. And that's not something you can blame a demographic over. That's just a cultural problem. But again, like saying like woman versus the patriarchy, it's like if you want to have a conversation of like, okay, how can we advance gender, not equity? I don't believe in equity. Equity is more equality. I would love to have a conversation, but the framework, I suppose, should be more to that effect as opposed to something like
it really sounds like you're. So yeah, it sounds like Stacie nailed it when she said you just don't like the title. But the point of that title is to get people to call in to ask us questions, because the title doesn't really tell you anything. It just says women versus the patriarchy, because it's supposed to get you to want to call in. And I love that it worked. But I think it's like, now we're getting too late and I'm going to have to drop the call in a second anyways. But you're welcome to call back if you can maintain the respect that you maintained in the second half of the conversation. Let's talk about patriarchy. Call back next week. I'm on, and maybe have some questions ready, because I think you started your whole thing with a straw man, and that's not what was being said. So I would love for you to call back. Let's talk about this when we have more time.
I don't believe I want. I mean, maybe I misunderstood some of you, but at no point was I consciously trying to misrepresent either of your specific views.
Right, but go back and listen to this, because you started it by saying it's not this, this, and this, and I never said that it was. Like, what's really funny, if we want to be real specific here and get into the title of the show, which it seems you really want to get into that specifically, it doesn't even say Eve thinks it's women versus the patriarchy. It just says women versus patriarchy. I could be pro-patriarchy for all you know. It's literally just a title, but you didn't start with a question, or you didn't start with maybe an assertion that, like, I think patriarchy is good, or I don't think patriarchy exists. You just started with, well, you're saying this, this, and this, and this is not true. And you didn't even ask Stacie and I, which we might even, like I said, we might even have varying opinions, and you still didn't even get to really hear them. So again, we're running out of time. So I'm going to let you
one
go.
final thing before I end. I'll call in. I'll probably call in on Monday. But there's just one final thing to wrap it up, is that even the examples you give are a little bit shoddy, because I understand you can be against purity culture as
examples
it exists
of what?
within of evangelicals who want to outlaw birth control, but those are very crackpot examples to focus on. Like, those aren't in law.
No, they're not.
And if
I told you I'll comment the resources for you, because I'm sorry that my brain is dead tonight, and I mean, I listed some names for you, but I'll comment those resources for you, and you can go see. Unfortunately, it sounds absolutely insane, and like this is a small thing. It is a small group, but the influence that they have due to money is absolutely terrifying. And it's something people should be aware of. It's why I do what I do. It's something that Christians should be afraid of, because it's not good for Christians either. It's authoritarianism, which you don't like either. So I'm gonna let you go now, but I am gonna comment those resources, because I said I would. I'm gonna do it tomorrow, which is technically already today for me. And I will leave this for you. But it very much exists. It's very much a thing. It's not a conspiracy theory, unfortunately. I really wish that it was. But I hope you have a good night, Jackie. Thank you for coming around with the respect level the second half of the call. Good night.
Bye.
I'm honestly shocked that my brain is like so fried. So I do
You
feel
did a
bad.
great job.
I need to have better answers next time. But I'm really shocked that he was able to turn that around from honey, listen to me to trying to engage.
I don't think you know this. He's 16. So
yeah. All right. Well, that makes it so much better and worse at the same time.
I know.
But truly, call back, Jackie. I do also feel like there is a script happening.
Yes.
That I'd like to get out of. So
all the other day. So
anyways, well, before I turn into a pumpkin, let's take some, let's take some, can we please take some super shots is what I was about to call them. That's what I need. Let's see. $10. Is that Australian? From PhD Tony, the central and most destructively pernicious pillar of Christianity is sexual guilt. Our education system should encourage students to express themselves for who they are, not crush them with guilt. I absolutely agree. And thank you so much for the support.
Okay, $5 from Jessica Lynn. Thank you, ladies, for helping me understand that I am not going to hell just for being a sexual trans woman and gay. The patriarchy made me feel shitty. Aw.
Yeah. Thanks for the support, and I'm so sorry about the shitty feelings. It's been a common theme tonight.
Yep. Absolutely.
$5 from Monkey at Typewriter. I love Stacie, but I feel like she's the other woman in the Eve Alyssa team. Does Alyssa know you've been hosting with other women? Just kidding. Happy Pride. I've been like feeling so much FOMO because Alyssa's been getting to host with other people. So I feel like it's only fair that I got to hang out with Stacie. So she's welcome to be the other woman anytime.
I feel so lucky to be here.
We should do one with the three of us sometime. I think that would be really fun.
Would be super fun. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's arrange that. People who arrange those things, listen to our requests, please. $9.99 from Andondre Sucks. And Antondre Sucks. My job has recently taken on a client, one of those crisis pregnancy clinics, and the cognitive dissonance between my job and my values is distressing. Any advice? Maybe time for a job change. Ooh.
That's a tough one. I don't know what to tell you because I'm not in your position.
Mhm.
I could go either way on that, honestly, because I understand being in a weird spot where it's like you're having to intercept money or do business with a group that just, I'm assuming if you feel like how I feel about it, so vehemently against.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry. I think you just have to do what's best for you to do. Maybe somebody in the chat will have a creative answer for you, but but without
Yeah,
knowing the
that's
details.
um yeah, that's really tough. I mean, if my thought too is if you have a family to provide for, I wouldn't necessarily go risking my job.
Yeah.
If that, so take
Yeah.
those kinds of things into consideration
Yep.
too, as much as it's difficult. But yeah, if you have a family,
Yeah.
don't go losing your job, especially in these economic times. Yeah.
But if it's distressing and you're looking for an
Yeah.
excuse to go find, maybe this is the good push to go start looking for something better. And
That's
if you can find something better, then that's not distressing, then go for that. But yeah, I agree. Don't risk
yeah.
your life for that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
is this one me or you? Me, I
Yes,
think.
it's
$5
you.
from Joshua Everett. Thanks for all you're doing. I've seen these conversations help quite a few people at least get their thoughts out and be able to express themselves. Thanks so much for the support, Joshua.
Yeah. $10 from Larry Fishman. Conservatives often claim we trans people are dangerous sexual deviants. Meanwhile, many of us, are flabbergasted when we discover that our bodies can actually make us feel good after some HRT. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't relate to that, but I can also imagine how amazing that must feel at the same time, just hearing stories from people who have gone through hormone replacement therapy and, feeling like they're finally living in the right body and headspace. And the claim that trans people are sexual deviants, that just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
That has
Yeah.
nothing to do
Yep.
with anything.
Ugh,
And it pisses
so
me off
angry.
tremendously because I have people in my family who I love and would die for that are trans, and that could not be further from the truth. It has nothing to do with anything. So I just feel I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that that's something that has
Yeah.
to even be a part of your thoughts that people think about you. So yeah.
Agreed. Fully. Sorry, this is me.
No,
I'm
that's okay.
clearly fading quickly.
I was like, I don't. Yeah.
10. Is that this? I should know this because I was in London.
Okay,
That's
this
10
is why I
pounds,
was like,
right?
I
Yes.
hope that's
Oh,
not
it's
me because I don't know
10
that.
pounds from Herbie Shine. Thank you for the show. Great host, kind, caring, respectful. I hope I'm saying Herbie right too. But that's one of my Facebook friends that I always really I
Aw.
appreciate your comments so much. Really do.
That's so nice. Oh, $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Jackie just described the masculinity is earned issue in detail, then blamed women for it. Either dude is a masterful troll of completely oblivious.
Yeah, I'm really gonna leave that comment. And I didn't want to get into it when we're about to end the show, but
Mhm.
we had a whole episode where we talked about that, about how so many of these issues, like the whole idea that masculinity has to be earned, it's if you're a feminist, you're advocating for men to not have to deal with that shit too. That's like kind of the whole fucking point. So, anyways,
Yeah.
thank you for Monkey at Typewriter.
Yes. That one's you.
Oh, $5 from Andy Placeris. I hope I said that right. This is for the hosts and their incredible patience handling certain callers. Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
So much.
$5 from Mike B. Rock on F the patriarchy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But now we said the patriarchy, so Jackie's going to call and we
Well,
got to talk
and
about it
that's
again.
what I was thinking. I'm like, you never just refer to it as patriarchy. I mean, maybe once in a while,
Right.
but there's always
Sure.
usually a that, and it's not a capital T for that. Like, it's just
Right. Also,
patriarchy
it's
in
there to start conversation, not to be like, that's
Yeah.
not the argument. So, anyways.
Yeah. That's you.
$5 for Monkey at Typewriter. Absolutely. Please, let's have a 3-host show with Eve, Stacie, and Alyssa. Also, Stacie, when are you getting your mom on the line? Big hug, big love, ladies.
Aw, that would be amazing.
We have to do it now.
And whenever. Yeah, let's do that. And yeah, she's available. So Oh, right, that's me.
I think
It's when you start talking, you're just like, oh, it's your turn. Okay, $5
I know, right?
Aliashana Silverbow.
Yeah.
Aliashana, sorry, I'm so sorry, Silverbow. Did you know that towels are the leading cause of dry skin? Okay,
That's a good one.
dad joke.
That's
I love it.
a really good one.
Oh, that's really good.
That's a great one. Thanks so much for the support.
Aw.
$5 from Dylan Fuller. In line with my call, I sometimes feel that my anger is female, being raised as a girl, even though I'm demi boy. My rage is feminine, if that makes sense. Totally. I think it's what you feel when it comes to something like femininity and masculinity. I kind of feel like rage in general, to me, has a bit of a feminine vibe. I think it's a really cool, I think rage tends to be this like protective, like, I don't know. I love rage.
Almost
I think
like
rage is
mama
great.
bear in a way.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what I associate it with in general. And I don't know. I think rage is a really cool emotion that is pointing us to things that need to be protected or need to be exposed oftentimes. So anyways, it's like, I have zero science based on any of that. That was just me talking.
Yeah. Aww. $5 from Morgan. My favorite Eve. And lovely to see you, Stacie. Aw.
Morgan, I miss
Love
you.
Morgan.
Anytime. So Morgan is usually the producer on Tuesday nights. And every time I log in, it's my favorite because as soon as I log in, I hear this voice, the voice of God in the distance. Because, I don't see the producer when I log in to do the show. And he goes, my favorite Eve. So sweet.
Aw. He's so sweet.
Thank you, Morgan. Look at it. We wrapped up. Perfect timing.
Right
I'm
on
literally going to
time.
go to the couch back there and go to sleep right now, which the sun is seriously starting to come up. So that's wild. It's 2:30 in the morning. But welcome to Finland. Yeah. Stacie, it was so amazing hanging out with you. Thank you for bearing with me. And thank you, everybody else, for the calls and for hanging out. I'll try to remember to do the things I said where I was like, I'll go back and use my full brain tomorrow and put it in the comments. But thank you so much also to our moderators and to our call screener. And thank you so much, Arden, for producing tonight. We'll see you guys. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Oh, and don't forget, go check out the Patreon. Patreon.com/calltheline.
That's right. We'll just dance our way out.
We're dancing, yeah.